Hello guys and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about the life of Charlotte Brontë by Elizabeth Gaskell. As you can see, I read this on my Kindle, and yeah, I think I just want to talk about it a little bit with you guys. It was definitely an interesting read, and yeah, let's get straight into it. Charlotte Brontë and Elizabeth Gaskell were friends in real life. They met about 5 years before Charlotte passed away, and they corresponded frequently, and it seems that they met as well frequently, and respected each other's work as authors. And when after Charlotte died, Elizabeth seemed like wanted to write her memoirs, but she had some reservation about doing it, so like while other people in her life were still alive. And it is very, very, very interesting. I kind of googled it, all of it, and it's very interesting to read about that time after Bronte's death, and kind of the differing opinions about whether someone should write her memoirs immediately, whether it should be Elizabeth Gaskell and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna go into that. It doesn't really matter. But I would suggest that you just Google it and read about it, because it is actually quite fascinating. But the short story is that it was Charlotte Bronte's father who asked Elizabeth Gaskell to write this life story, and I guess he just couldn't say no, so she accepted. And like I said, she was concerned about writing it so soon after Charlotte passed away. And she did say, "I shall now have to omit a good deal of details as to her home and the circumstances which must have had so much to do in forming her character." So she acknowledged that she would not be able to say everything that maybe she wanted to say, or write about everything she wanted to, write, in order not to offend and hurt people, were still alive. But apparently people still got hurt and offended and insulted. And there were even threats of lawsuits, and Elizabeth Gaskell had to adjust her manuscript a few times before she published it, because of the fear of being sued. But anyway, so this book is very interesting, and there are a lot of sections in this book that I really liked very much. I like the description that Gaskell gives of the three sisters, Charlotte, Emily, and Anne. And kind of the dynamics between them. I've been very curious about the relationship and how it must have been for them to be like three really talented authors kind of together, and kind of how their relationship worked. And anyway, it would have been, I'm sure it must have been a really interesting relationship, especially because these two of them were very in frail health, really bad health, and it's really sad that the two younger sisters died as young as they did, and that we didn't get more of their writing talents, more novels from them. And also I think that the two oldest sisters that passed away as well quite young, 10 or 11 or 12 years old, and they also seem to have had talents and were quite gifted to some degree. So yeah, and I also think it must have been really hard for that brother. I mean, growing up with 5 really talented, gifted, intelligent, amazing sisters, and maybe he had some of those talents, but they definitely went to waste, and perhaps being always subjected to the comparison, maybe there's no wonder that he went the way that he did. Anyway, and there are also in this, there are a lot of letters, both from Charlotte and from her friends to Charlotte, and they are really wonderful, and it really gives you an kind of some idea of what Charlotte was thinking and feeling, her opinions. Although, obviously, when you're writing to someone, you're going to edit yourself quite a bit, and I thought it was really fun to read about her criticism, like her reactions to criticism of her work, because she didn't mind to be criticized for her work as long as it was fair, and as soon as, like, when she initially published her work, Jane Eyre and what was it? Oh no, I can't remember whether it was, probably The Professor. I can't remember the first book. There were two books there that she published first, and then Shirley came as a third book, I think. And it doesn't matter. But anyway, she first published under a pseudonym, and it's kind of a gender neutral name, so it could have been gone either way. But it was inferred that she was a gentleman, a person, a male person writing. But then there was obviously rumors that maybe this was a woman writing, especially after Shirley, because it's so like that. People felt that it had to be someone who lived there in Yorkshire, and lived like in the place where she was living and where Shirley takes place, and nobody could think of anyone who was talented enough who lived there except Charlotte Brontë. But of course she was a woman, right? But then, so rumors started getting around that maybe the author of Jane Eyre and Shirley and The Professor were also women. And she felt that some of her work was being criticized more harshly and more unjust because the critics knew or suspected that it was a woman, and that if that hadn't been the case, the works would have been received more favorably. So she wrote about that in her letters, how unfair she thought that was. And also there are some letters in there that are just very moving. Like after Emily passed away, there's this quote from a letter from Charlotte. Emily suffers no more from pain or weakness now. She never will suffer more in this world. She is gone. After a hard, short conflict, she died on Tuesday. And there was, yes, there is no Emily in time or on earth now. Yesterday we put her poor, wasted mortal frame quietly under the church pavement. We were very calm at present. Why should we be otherwise? The anguish of seeing her suffer is over. The spectacle of the pains of death is gone by. The funeral day is past. We feel she is at peace. No need now to tremble for the hard frost and the keen wind. Emily does not feel them. And I just think that's so like, oh, I can't imagine like having, just losing her brother, her two sisters, and just like everybody. And then there's also some descriptions of like both like that Elizabeth Gaskell writes, but also that Charlotte writes in her letters, like she's going for walks alone. She is doing all the house chores alone. She's sitting there writing alone. All things that she used to do with her sisters. And I just think that's, I don't know. It just really moved me to tears, really. So this book is really, I think it's a really, really beautiful, very literary, like literary narrative of life in the middle of the 19th century, or And of course, Elizabeth Gaskell's writing is very good. I mean, I haven't read that much from Elizabeth Gaskell, but I like her writing, and I've enjoyed her very much so far. And you know, she describes places, she describes the people, and you can visualize everything, and you are like transplanted to that place and with those people. The descriptions, they're so rich and powerful. You know, the writing, if you like Gaskell at least, the writing is excellent, I think, and I really enjoyed it. But my main criticism of this book is that it's really not a biography. it's a very beautiful book, but it's an obituary. You know, it's a beautiful obituary, really, but it's not a biography in the sense that there's nothing objective or it's just Charlotte. I mean, we get her life story, right, from her, like when she was born and until she dies and everything. But just everything is about how hard her life was. And let's see, you know, how bad her health and her sister's health, how much she cared about her sisters, how much she was disappointed when her dreams and hopes didn't come true, you know, how difficult it was with her brother, and then when her father got sick, and like her aunt or her maid or whatever, and of course Charlotte was like, she had such a pure heart that she took everything. She never showed her disappointment, or, you know, she's been depicted here as like this human perfect angel. And of course that's not realistic. I mean, I'm sure she was not a perfect person, but there's nothing here about anything like that. Which again is, I mean, like I said, it's understandable. Her father was still alive, and, you know, he had asked Elizabeth Gaskell to write this, so of course he's not going to write anything negative. And that's also perfectly normal. When someone you care about dies, you don't want to be talking about their faults. You are just remembering all the good things, because that's how grief works, and that's just how loss works and everything. Another thing that I really did not like, and it may be because this is a Kindle edition, and I don't know, maybe if you would get like a Penguin edition or like a quality like Oxford or something edition, you might get like footnotes or translations, but there's so much French in this book. She wrote, like, she lived in Belgium for a little while, so she would write to people there in French, and they would write to her in French. And Gaskell just puts those letters in here in French. No explanation. And I understand that people in the 19th century in England, they spoke French, like the upper classes, they spoke French, right? It was just like one of those languages that everybody spoke. And, you know, I can actually read a little French. I learned French in high school, but that's like getting close to like 30 years ago, people. So, oh my God. But I was very good at French, and I can still like read. If I was in French, I could read enough so that I could find my way, and, you know, I can say like, je m'appelle Brintis, je suis aus Island, or whatever, you know. I have the rudimentary, very rudimentary memory of what I learned in high school. But I cannot read like 5 pages of a letter in French written in the 19th century. So that was very frustrating. But again, maybe because it's this edition and not like a... I would hope that you could find an edition that has translations if you don't... if you do not know French. So that was very frustrating. But I thought anyway, it was really nice. And I really enjoyed the kind of last... It was like almost a year of her life, where she got married, and she was pregnant, and then when she died, because I had always thought also that she died of tuberculosis like her sisters, but she died of that morning sickness, like that extreme morning sickness. I can't remember if you know, the one that the Princess of Wales had when she was pregnant. My mom had that when she was pregnant with one of my brothers. So she was like hospitalized for morning sickness. So that's basically how Charlotte died, or at least that's the main theory now that people believe, because she was already very frail and like didn't have a lot of physical reserves. So when she like threw up for like weeks and she couldn't eat anything, she just faded away basically. Because there's no real mention of her pregnancy other than like in passing that, you know, soon the baby will be here or something like that, and then, you know, she dies basically while she's pregnant. It's very sad. Yeah, but yeah, it's a good book, and I'm giving it 4 stars. Like I said, I liked it. I like the writing style. I like the insights of the letters, at least the ones that were not in French. And I really enjoy reading letters from people back in the day, and like, because they have often such a different kind of thinking than maybe we have now today in modern day. But at the same time, it's the same because we are all human beings, and human beings are kind of the same whenever we were. Yeah, but I really would like to read like a proper biography of her and her sisters as well. I think it would be really interesting to get like a little bit more of a objective look at their lives, for sure. But I mean, I do recommend the book. It's like I said, if you enjoy somewhat flowery, writing style that is very narrative and very kind of, you know, beautiful, then this is definitely the book for you. And it's fun to read about her life and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.